Hello coders! Today we will be going over a fun Scratch project where you get to control time itself while learning about variables. Let's first start off with a little demonstration of what your completed program should do. After completing this video, your program will do this too. Once you press start, your cursor becomes a seed packet, but we won't have any seeds yet. So let's go to the shop to buy some seeds to plant our flowers. Click on it a few times and you'll buy these seeds. Now let's go back to the garden and hover our cursor over the plant or a pot to plant them. After, you have to remember to water them or else they won't grow. We can water them by exchanging our tools right here in the middle, taking water from this nearby puddle, and then hovering over the flower. Now let's watch our buddy here grow into a big strong flower by constantly watering it. Oh, if you're out of water, remember to refill your watering can at the puddle. Now let's continue watering our flower. And aha! It's now a big strong flower. Now that took a long time for our flower to grow. This is where our time machine comes in. Here we have our time machine where we can control how much time it takes for your flowers to grow. Now what do you think when I press the minus 0.25 button all the way down to, let's say, 2.5 seconds? Take a moment to think. Pause if you need to. Now let's see what happens to our flower growing process when we go back to our garden. So I start with putting the seeds down, and then I water it. Wow, it looks like the flowers grew a lot faster than before. Okay, so now that we know all about what our program should do, let's dive into the concepts behind our program. The main concept we will be focusing on today is the variable. Variables are little pieces of changeable information stored under a specific name. You can store numbers, you can store statuses like true or false, and even words. The most important thing is that it can be changed while our program is running. An example of a variable in our program is time. Remember our time machine? Our time machine changes how fast the flowers grow. That is controlled by a variable. Now let's see how these variables are coded to make our program work. There are going to be 3 activities we will be doing, each focusing on a specific variable. To start off, let's open the project. Make your way to My Stuff and click on the My Studios. There will be a studio named Cyber Spartan Projects. I don't have it, but you should see it right over here. Click on the one labeled Learning Variables. The name might change, but the picture should look something like this. If you need further assistance, follow the uploading instructions in the beginning of the book or ask your fellow for guidance. For Activity 1, we will be looking at the most common use of variables in Scratch, storing numbers in the variable. This project uses this method for numerous things, but the variable we will look at will be called seed amount, or the amount of seeds the player has. Make your way to the sprite called Buy Seeds and find the block of code that looks like this. This sprite is found in the shop page. What we want this sprite to do is to add a seed to the player's inventory every time it's clicked on. Right now, the only thing this sprite does is look pretty. This hat block executes whatever is found underneath it when the sprite is clicked on. we want the amount of seeds the player has, or seed amount, to increase, so we have to add another block. Go to the variables section on the left-hand side. Find the block that looks like this. Click and change the selected variable to seed amount. Adjust the 0 to a 1 if it's a 0. For me, it's already a 1, so I don't have to change anything. Drag it out and combine everything together right here. Your end product should look something like this. And that's it. That's activity 1. Great job. Now, for activity 2, we'll be focusing on variables still, but it's used in a different way. This time, we'll be storing a condition instead of a number. The conditions we're talking about are true and false. We'll be fixing the variable called planted. This variable will have information about whether or not the flower pot has a seed in it. So if the pot has seeds, it's true. If the pot doesn't have seeds, then it's false. Now let's click on the flower sprite and find these groups of code. This one and this one. We'll fix the code right here first, the smaller one, so we can fix the big code right here. This code is going to plant the seed whenever our seed packet hovers over an empty flower pot. Right now, the only part that works is the watering can. We water the flowering pots, but nothing will happen if we can't plant the flowers. Just like the last activity, go to the variable section on the left-hand side. However, find the block that looks like this. Note that this is set variable, not change variable. Last time we used the change one. Click and change the selected variable to planted. In this case, we changed from backdrop num to planted. Now here is the key difference between this activity and the last one. Instead of putting a number, we put something a little more complicated. We put a condition that describes the flower pot. In this case, we put true because we want the seed packet to plant a flower whenever we mouse over the flower pot. Combine the smaller chunk of code with a set block so it looks like this. This is what your smaller chunk of code should look like. Now combine this chunk of code with the bigger chunk right in here. The final combination should look something like this. And that's it. That's activity 2. Great job. Now, let's move on to activity 3. This final activity will have you learning another use of variables. This usage is very similar to the last activity. However, instead of holding a condition true or false, it'll hold a word. We can put any word we want inside of this variable. Even one letter works. Click the Tool Select sprite and find this block of code. When this sprite is clicked, we want the tool to change costumes into the correct one. This code will check if the current tool is a seed packet. If it is a seed packet, then we swap the seed packet for the watering can. Think of it like placing the seed packet on the ground to pick up the watering can. Whenever you click on the sprite, you're trading it for another tool. We use two important variables in this code, tool stage and tool select stage. Both of these used a new method of storing words in a variable. Go to the variable section and find the block that says set something something to 0. grab 4 of them. 2, 3, 4. Adjust them using the same method we used in the previous activity and make 2 of tool stage and 2 of tool select stage. For each variable, have one that says water and have one that says seed. Water, water, seed, seed. This is what they should look like in the end. If the current tool is a seed packet, we want to change it to a watering can. To do this, we need to change the tool stage to water and the tool select stage to seed. Go ahead and combine these two together. Tool stage water, and then tool select stage seed. We drag this pair into the first opening right here. Then we combine these two and put it into the bottom opening here. The final code chunk should look like this. And that's it. Activity 3 is also done. Those are our 3 activities, and you are now done with the Scratch portion of the project.